Hi everyone! Well, it's been a while since I've done a vlog for a movie that wasn't Digimon, but here I am today to talk about Moana. I just saw it this past weekend, and I liked it. I really, really enjoyed it. I want to talk about the positive things first, because there were a lot of positive things. I think more than negative. There will be some negative, but we'll get to that eventually. But let's talk about the positive first, because there's a lot of good things about this movie, and I guess first of all, I just wanted to say, well, let's start with the title. Um, because Disney has been disappointing me lately, quite a bit. The last Disney movie I saw that I really loved was Wreck-It Ralph. Tangled was good. It was okay. It was kind of generic, but the story was really good. Some of the execution was maybe not as good, and the characters were kind of a little bland. Princess and the Frog, really good, really kind of complicated in its mythology, but the characters were really good and the music was really good. It's really a shame that Princess and the Frog didn't do better at the box office. Frozen, you all know by now how I feel about Frozen. I hate it. I still hate it with a burning passion. Frozen sucks. Big Hero 6, I really liked. I had some problems with the plot. But overall, it was a good movie. Uh, but it just I feel like Disney has been missing that spark. If the height of Disney is still considered to be the Renaissance period, we're not quite there. So let's start off with the name Moana. And it may seem like a small thing, but hear me out. Wreck-It Ralph was the last recent Disney movie to have the protagonist's name right there in the title. And I remember Tangled, the name was changed originally from Rapunzel to Tangled, and the reason they gave for it was, oh well, we kind of figured it was more of a story of these two characters meeting and the relationship that they had, and yeah, okay, fine. But Wreck-It Ralph got to keep his name in the title, even though in Japan, Wreck-It Ralph was called Sugar Rush, which actually would have been a fine title for, because, that's where the majority of the film takes. And Wreck-It Ralph is just as much a story about a relationship between two people. It's not a romantic one. But, Tangled got its name changed because, God forbid, we have Rapunzel's name in the title. Um, and then Frozen got changed. It was originally the Snow Queen, but again, God forbid, we imply that a female is the lead of the movie, and but Moana gets to keep her name in the title. It wasn't changed to something like, I don't know, the Sea Voyage or something. I don't even know what they would have changed it to, but she got to keep her name in the title, and it may seem like a small thing, but it's just, all of these small things that add up to the fact that Moana is way more subversive than Frozen ever was, and it's paining me to think of all the clout that Frozen got as, oh, it's a feminist film, and critics were just falling over themselves to talk about how great Frozen was, and it wasn't. It is astonishing how subtly damaging an anti-feminist Frozen was. And I think that's the real poison of Frozen, is that it was not outwardly anti-feminist, but when you pick it apart, the way that Frozen treated its female leads was atrocious. It was awful. And Moana, here along comes Moana, and does all of the things that Frozen should have done. And I'm not seeing the droves of people coming out in support of Moana the way they did for Frozen, and it makes me a little sick, honestly. It still baffles me when I think about how popular Frozen became, because I can't explain it. I really can't explain why that movie became so popular. I guess it just had that it quality that a lot of recent Disney movies didn't. it had the formula, is the only way that I can think to describe it. It had the formula that made it popular, and why we're still seeing Frozen merchandise today. I'm worried that Moana is gonna tank in the merchandise, which is sad because, you know, better movies like Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6 and Moana have been all pushed aside in favor of freaking Frozen merchandise. I'm still not over Frozen. I don't know that I'll ever be over it, but we're talking about Moana and the good things that Moana does. So let's talk about the good ways that Moana treats women in this movie. First of all, Moana is an active protagonist. That was one of my biggest problems with Frozen. Apologies, I'm probably going to compare them directly a lot. I can't help it. But Frozen, you know, the girls, they don't really do much. They have things happen to them, and, you know, Anna climbs the mountain, and Elsa goes off to her castle to presumably do nothing for the rest of her life. But Moana actually does things, and it starts even before she leaves the island on her quest. It starts right in the beginning when you see her parents training her to be the next chief. I can't even describe, like, how much I love that. Like, it's not just this vague notion of pressure, of responsibility she has over her head that someday she's going to be the new chief of the village. No, you actually see her parents getting her ready to take over the throne, and you see her interacting with the people of the village and learning how to make good decisions that will benefit her people. And I love it so much. It's beautiful, and it leads me into the next thing, which is Moana has both of her parents alive and healthy and supporting her throughout the movie, and, like, I feel like that's even more of a trope than the romance for Disney is, like, to have at least one, if not both, of the parents dead. Moana has both of the parents, and they both love her and support her, and yes, there's a little bit of the rebellious teenage girl in there, in that, you know, Moana wants to leave the island and her father tells her no, but it's not even played up as much as, you know, it's not as in your face as some of the other movies, and her father does have a good reason for not wanting to leave the island, and but he obviously still loves her, and you have good moments with her and her father and her mother and her grandmother. She has 3, like, strong, supportive, loving family members, and I can't think, like, Mulan was the last Disney princess I can think of like that, who Mulan also had a father, mother, and grandmother. So there's that. So we have, and, you know, again, unlike Frozen, Moana is, you know, she wants to leave to explore the sea, but she also clearly loves her people, and it's not, I guess, even more than comparing it directly to Frozen. There are a lot of stories about the rebellious teenager who wants to find their own way and go against the tide, and the message is like, oh, you can't be tied down by the past, and you have to go out and find your own way. That's all well and good. But a lot of those movies miss the sense of responsibility that comes with, you know, you can't just burn bridges and turn your back on everything. That was the problem with Elsa, how she just tried to, you know, basically run off to the mountains and not deal with anything anymore. The big problem with Frozen is that she never accepted that mantle of responsibility and turned around and tried to make up for her mistakes. But the cool thing about Moana's story is that she does leave the island and she gets her adventure that she's always wanted, but she does it because her village is in trouble and they're probably gonna die if she doesn't leave the island. So it's not even motivated so much by, like, I want adventure in the Great Wide Somewhere as, you know, my village is gonna die if I don't. So it's not even as selfish as it feels like a lot of, like, Disney I want princesses in the past, which was great. And I love that. It's just, all these little things that add up to the fact that Moana is a much stronger story and a much better example of Disney defying its own stereotypes. When Enchanted came out, I thought it was cute, but it almost made, in the process of making fun of itself, it almost like played up the Disney tropes even more than they actually were. And then Frozen came along and it was touted as breaking all the Disney stereotypes when it actually didn't, and it actually went much backwards. Here, Moana comes along, and it actually does break all these Disney stereotypes, and does it really well in the fact that it doesn't shove it in your face. It's like, oh, we're breaking stereotypes. No, it just tells a good story that happens to fly in the face of a lot of deeply ingrained Disney traditions. Excuse me. And I guess another one, let's talk about, there's no romance in Moana. There's not even a hint of romance, where there have been in previous films like Mulan and that sort of thing. She's not fighting against an arranged marriage. She has the relationship with Maui, but it's purely platonic. And, and that's another thing, like, I think I was drawn to Wreck-It Ralph so much because it played on a lot of the things that I'm a sucker for. I'm a sucker for platonic relationships being the focus of a movie, and also for intergenerational friendships, which you've got a teenage girl, teenage girl Moana and the demigod Maui forming a friendship, and it's so cute, I love it. So that's one of the things I'm a sucker for. I'm a sucker for anything to do with the ocean. I love the ocean, and the ocean looks beautiful in this movie. Like, the way they rendered the water is gorgeous. See it for the ocean alone, and for, speaking of the effects, for the way they did hair. Oh, the hair is beautiful. Like Moana's hair, definitely, but also Maui's. I guess originally Maui was supposed to be bald, and the creative team actually consulted with a bunch of Pacific Islanders. They called the Oceanic Trust, I think it was, who they would run all their decisions by, and to try to sift out any cultural taboos. And they were the ones that told Disney basically, Moana is supposed to be in the hair. So, making Maui bald would essentially be like a Samson and Delilah thing of cutting off your hair. That's where all his power. He'd essentially be naked. And so they were like, no, Maui's gonna have these luscious locks, and he does in the film, and it's beautiful. And so the hair looks amazing. Also, I guess speaking of the visuals, the various monsters in the film look gorgeous. Like, Tekka, the lava monster that you see. Oh my gosh, the effects on this thing are just beautiful. It looks amazing. When they go down into the realm of monsters and they meet Tamatoa looks amazing, and they do some things with bioluminescence, and that looks gorgeous. So it's almost like a 2-for-1 deal with Tamatoa, because he looks amazing in the light, and then they turn the lights off and he's glowing and he looks amazing in the dark, and it's visuals alone don't make a film, of course, but the visuals in this movie are very gorgeous. And I guess that'll lead me to talking into the look of humans in this movie. Again, going back to Frozen, one of my biggest complaints was that first of all, Elsa and Anna look exactly alike. They're carbon copies of each other, and they looked like porcelain dolls. It was creepy, right? They had these huge eyes, these tiny little mouths, and this paper, no imperfections, smooth skin. It was creepy. Moana does humans a lot better. They kind of have this smoothness to them, I guess, let's, comparing Disney and DreamWorks, for example. DreamWorks humans are a little more, rough around the edges, I guess. Look at the textures they used for skin in How to Train Your Dragon, and look at the freckles on Hiccup's face, and the scar on his chin, and all the imperfections that kind of make them look a little more like skin. The characters in Moana don't have those kind of freckles and imperfections. They have tattoos, which is nice. but they do have that kind of smoothness, and I guess I can't harp on it too much because it's typical for Disney. I will say these are some of the best looking 3D humans in Disney history. I'm thinking back to 3D Disney movies that I really liked, like Meet the Robinsons, and that was a little more cartoony. I think the humans in Moana were more kind of more realistic in the way they moved and the way they looked. They had that kind of like a little bit of more muscle mass that made them look a little more alive. Especially on Moana's face, because the animation on Elsa was terrible. Like the limitations in the emotional range that Elsa and Anna displayed was awful. Like they barely emoted. When Elsa cries at the very end over her sister, it's she barely looks sad, and then when her sister comes back, she barely looks happy, and it's just, I hated it, and when Elsa's singing her big, Let It Go, like, you look at Idina Menzel when she sings, like, there's so much passion, and her mouth opens wide to get all those high notes, and we've got Elsa's tiny little mouth barely opening and closing, and just, I hated it, and, like, compare that to Moana when she sings, like, sometimes her mouth makes awkward shapes because she's holding out a note for a long time, and you can see the muscles in her throat moving and contracting, and she sings, and I'm like, yes! It's not the greatest character animation I've ever seen, but it's better! It's so much better! It's like, yay, Disney, good job! My friend Kylie and I were talking about the look of Maui and how he kind of looked rubbery. Like, there have been a lot of complaints about how Maui looks obese. I didn't read it so much as obese as he's very muscular. He's broad. I can see where the criticisms are coming from, that he's this kind of, like, stereotypical fat Hawaiian. It didn't bother me as much because I got the feeling that he was supposed to be muscular. In execution, I'm not sure it was the best. I wished he would have had a little more definition in his, like, especially around the pecs areas. Because of the way his tattoos are shaped, his pecs are very defined. But they kind of blend into the rest of his torso. There's not as far as mass goes, they're kind of, like, just part of, it's all smooth. And because of the way that the tattoos are outlined on his pecs, it does kind of lead to a little bit of a flat look there, which leads to him looking more round and rubbery than muscular like he's supposed to look. So I get what they were going for. I don't think in execution it was the strongest, especially because look at his face. His face has a lot of detail and a lot of good musculature in it, and a lot of good mass, and the way his forehead wrinkles, and the way his mouth, the muscles around his mouth when he smiles, a lot of good muscle mass in the face, so there's kind of this disconnect between this awesome, like, really expressive face and this flat body. Maui, his body could have been done better, but I guess we'll move into talking about the voice acting, because Dwayne Johnson did a fantastic job as Maui. He's kind of a little bit of a jerk with a heart of gold, and he's got this, big ego, but, it kind of hides an inferiority complex, and Dwayne Johnson just captured that perfectly, and you can hear it in his voice. He's having so much fun with, like, every line he delivers. I loved Maui. He was a lot of fun. And his singing was really good. Like, he gets a show-stopping number called "You're Welcome," and it's so funny and camp, and I really loved it. I wasn't expecting his singing to be that good, but it really was good. The lead character, Moana, is voiced, oh shoot, I gotta look up her name because I've gotta get it right. Auli'i Cravalho? I'm so sorry if I probably just butchered that. Cravalho? I'm not sure exactly how that's pronounced, but Auli'i. I'm pretty sure. Auli'i Cravalho. Okay. she was amazing. This is her first big movie role. Oh my gosh! Like she was so expressive and so emotive. Like there's the scene at the very end where she has to get like upset and emotional, and she pulled it off so well. I'm looking forward to good things from her in the future, because this was a great, first performance. And the other thing, she's 14. Like I was gonna say, they did a great job of making this teenage character sound like a teenager. A lot of Disney princesses in the past look and sound like they could be in their early 20s, and they're voiced by older actresses. But the fact that they got a teenager to voice a teenage girl really was just another notch in the authenticity of the performance. She was great. She brought a lot of heart and warmth to the character. And again, when she needs to be more emotional, it's wonderful. And her singing was amazing. Like she got quite a bit of good range in her singing. Like when she needs to be loud, she's loud, and when she needs to be kind of softer, there's a part at the end where she needs to be very, very quiet with her singing, and she is, and it's gorgeous. But yeah, I guess the only thing that weirded me out about the casting, the entire cast is Pacific Islanders and New Zealanders, which is wonderful, except for Alan Tudyk, who was reduced to the role of a chicken, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But Moana's father has this kind of a little bit of a British undertone to his accent, which weirded me out a little bit. I was like, why is that there? It was a little odd. But he did a good job, and all of the voice acting was really good. Rachel House, who did Grandmother Tala, was just a lot of fun and sweet and kooky in the way that, like, she's the crazy old grandmother who's also very wise and old and wise in her ways, and she was a great character.